Okay, we're going to start. So, hello everyone. Thank you, Sylvan. we are live, and we are very excited. This is a Tel Aviv University, another Tel Aviv University broadcast. We're very excited to have honorable guests here. And first, I'd like to invite Mr. Sylvan Adams, an honorary doctor of Tel Aviv University, a great supporter of Israel, and of course, of Tel Aviv, and a vice chairman of the Board of Governors. And he will introduce and say a few words. Sylvan, please. One second.
Yes. Okay, I unmuted. Okay. So thank you very much, Amos. But you missed my most important function, which is I am an Oleh Hadash. So I moved to Israel with my wife 4 years ago. And when we moved, I had new business cards printed with a new title. This is the only business card that I use. And my title reads, Self-Appointed Ambassador at Large for the State of Israel. So I'm devoting this next chapter of my life to promoting our beautiful country. And and what I try to do, a lot of my projects are devoted to reaching out to very large audiences. And when I say large, I mean in the hundreds of millions of people. Projects that reach what I call the silent majority. The silent majority of people who don't know Israel, but if you ask them, if you pushed to ask them what their impressions are, they probably have a negative impression of Israel. And why? Because of the news cycle, the steady drumbeat of unidimensional news of Israel as a zone of conflict and all of this stuff that goes with that. And unfortunately, they don't get the real picture of Israel, which is a normal country, a normal country that I decided to move to, a normal Western democracy, and they don't really see this normal Israel that we as Israelis experience on a day-to-day basis. So the idea behind my projects is to show this, what I call normal Israel, to very large audiences. And I've done a number of very interesting projects in that regard, and we have two sportsmen with us on this, and so it's very well themed because sports reaches the largest audiences of any activity in the world. So the largest watched television event in the world is the Olympic Games. Second is the Mondial, the World Cup of football, soccer. And believe it or not, the third most watched sporting activity in the world is the Tour de France. So it gives you an idea. And just to finish it off, the fourth most watched sporting activity of any kind, it happens to be another sporting activity, is the Giro d'Italia. So I, 2 years ago in 2018, I brought the big start, the Grande Partenza of the Giro d'Italia. The Giro is like the Tour de France. It's a 3-week bike race that takes place and circles all of Italy and shows the beautiful sights of Italy. But every 2 years, they begin the race in a foreign country, usually a neighboring European country. This was the first time that the Giro or any of the Grand Tours, which include the Tour de France, ever left Europe. And we had it in Israel. And the beauty of bike racing is it takes place outdoors. So for 3 glorious days, including 1 full day in our national capital of Jerusalem, we had aerial photography of the entire country showing off the Israel that I know and love to an audience of 1 billion people. And this is, something that you cannot buy publicity like this. It's not publicity. And by the way, there's no hasbara. The silent majority don't want to be preached to. They're just sports fans. They just want, they're just watching something that they love. And the byproduct of this is that they're seeing with their eyes, not reading, not seeing on TV, but seeing with their eyes a picture which is very different than the one that they were expecting. And I got this many times from people that I met since the Giro, I never knew that your country was so beautiful. I will say one more nice thing about the Giro, and then I'll go into some of my other projects that I've done in a similar vein. 1 week before the Giro arrived in Israel, perhaps 98% of Israelis had never even heard of the Giro d'Italia, and they had no interest in bike racing. And yet, because they knew we were on the global stage, because we had a home team, my Israel Startup Nation professional cycling team, in the Giro, participating in the Giro, so they could cheer for it. We had over 900,000 Israelis come together and watch this activity, watch a bike race, which is something they've never done before, and a bike race that they'd never heard of before. So I was never more proud of being Israeli, to see the absolute enthusiasm that they came out just because they knew we want to be loved, we Israelis. So we knew we were on the world stage, and Israel came together. So it was a very proud moment for me. And what I like to say is, my experience with first-time visitors to Israel is they're almost to a person universally impressed that the Israel that they see is not the one that they've read about or seen through media reports, that they see a country that is open, diverse, tolerant, of course, fiercely democratic, and most importantly, I would say safe. So showing the Giro, bringing the Giro on home soil in Israel, brought us 1 billion first-time visitors via their TV set. So as I said, it was a very, very important thing. Likewise, I did a few other projects. So if we're talking with my eminent football, soccer guests who will appear on this podcast, so I was the sponsor. I brought the national teams of Uruguay and Argentina for a friendly match at Bloomfield Stadium in Tel Aviv. And of course, Lionel Messi has 200 million social media fans. So we had 200 million of Lionel Messi's fans tuning into our beautiful country and seeing this, what I call this normal picture of Israel. And so, as I said, I'm trying to reach out to large-scale audiences. And the byproduct of that, of course, like I said, with the Giro, how it brought Israelis together, is that we had a stadium filled with, which is rare these days, the stadiums are now empty, but we had a stadium filled with very enthusiastic fans, and we happened to be treated to a particularly good match with a perfect score that finished, and Leo Messi scoring the last goal. It happened to be very, very nice. And again, it brought Israelis together, and I made sure because these things are very elitist, and the tickets, we could have put very high ticket prices. We gave away 50% of the seats in the stadium to children and people who live in the regions, and the rest of the tickets we subsidized and kept them at a very, very reasonable cost for people who wanted to come with their families and enjoy a world-class match in Israel. I don't only do sports, so I'm going to do a quick segue away from sports, because you will be treated by these two legends. You'll be treated to really good sports talk. But I don't only do sports, because for me, all the projects are the same. I was, for example, a partner in the mission, the Israeli Space IL mission to the moon, where our little moon lander, Breshit, sadly landed. We made it to the moon. Sadly, it landed in a million pieces because we crash landed. We had a little mistake at the end, but again, this shows Israel, another dimension of Israel, the scientific side, the innovative side, the fact that we could do this on a shoestring budget compared to NASA and every other project that's ever gone to the moon. Israel was the 4th country to land on the moon after the 3 superpowers, and tiny Israel, showing off our technological and innovative prowess. In the area of culture, we won the right, because of Netta Barzilai's win at the Eurovision Song Competition. We won the right to host the Eurovision in 2018. And because we were bringing it, I wanted to do something to make it the best Eurovision, because this doesn't happen every year, to make it the most watched Eurovision and most successful Eurovision in their 59, I think, editions. And so I decided to bring a mega star, Madonna, that I brought on my own steam, and she did guest performance at the Eurovision in order to enlarge the audience, because Americans don't know about Eurovision. It's very much a Eurocentric competition. And by bringing Madonna, of course, it was the most successful. Over 300 million people tuned in to see our Eurovision and see beautiful images of Israel. So these are just different ways that I practice my role as I said, self-appointed ambassador. So because I'm self-appointed, I cannot be reassigned or fired. These are the things that I'm trying to do. And I use this as a way of introducing our eminent guests today. So we have with us Avram Grant, who has who is the who reached the highest level as the manager of Chelsea, which is, you know, for an Israeli to represent us in the most watched, of course, sporting event of all, the most popular, which is soccer, and he reached the highest level with one of the biggest clubs in the world. So I think that's very impressive, and I'm sure he will have an interesting story to tell about his journey. And we have Yossi Benayoun, and Yossi played many years in he played in Israel, of course, but then he played many years in the British League and in the FA League, and again representing Israel as an ambassador. I'm an ambassador, but you gentlemen are also ambassadors, because anything we Israelis do is put under the microscope, and so we are all ambassadors when we travel around the globe, and that goes for every. I would say that goes for every citizen of Israel. So if we are loud and obnoxious and disruptive and do things that Israelis sometimes do, it reflects very badly on our country, because people are looking to criticize us, and we have our fair share of critics. But if we are very good sportsmen and exemplify the highest levels of sportsmanship, that reflects very well on us. So I think this is a message that you two ambassadors can deliver to this audience and to all of Israel. And I'm trying to lead by example in the projects that I'm doing. As I said, I own Israel's first ever professional cycling team, and we will be in the Tour de France for the first time this year. As I said, the third most watched sporting event in the world. And we are, all of my athletes, whether they are Israeli and we have foreign riders as well. All of my athletes know that they are ambassadors for the home country. Next year, in case you guys don't know, I've signed the greatest cyclist of this generation for next year, Chris Froome. This would be like an Israeli-owned team or an Israeli team signing Lionel Messi to come and be on their football squad. So I have the Lionel Messi of cycling, who will be competing for our Israel Startup Nation team. And what a beautiful name that is, Israel Startup Nation, because that's what we are. So, gentlemen, I pass the rest of the show to you guys, and thank you for all that you're doing. You are great ambassadors for the country, and keep showing our best face to the rest of the world.
Thank you, Sylvan. Toda rabah. Thank you. Thank you for joining us from Montreal. Although you're an Israeli, you're now there visiting your family. Also, Mazal Tov to your 100th birthday of your father, Marcel, a great supporter of Israel as well. So congratulations and thank you for joining. And now before, yes, okay, 1 second.
If I may, my father, who is a pioneer, who fought in the War of Independence, my father turned 100. So this is why Amos was wishing my father a happy birthday, and we were able to celebrate with my father here in Montreal, and that's why I'm here. So thank you again, Amos.
Raphael, before I pass it to you, just to say thank you for our UK Trust and to David Miller, our chairman, and of course to Kara, the CEO, and the rest of the team. And please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amos. Thank you, Sylvan, for your kind introductory words. You want to hear from our guests, not from me, so I'm going to keep this really, really brief. Just to tell you that I have a bit of a history with TAU as well. My wife worked for the UK Trust, and I was in 1993 staying in the dorms for 6 weeks to study Hebrew, but it actually turned more into a French refresher course for reasons we don't have to really get into at the moment. Of course, I consider myself part of the Tel Aviv University family. We've already had an intro for Avram and Yossi, so I'm going to go straight into it. Avram, as an Israeli coach who has a lot of experience abroad, what would you say is the difference between coaching inside Israel and outside, whether that's different teams or, as you have done with Ghana, indeed an international team?
Oh, it's a big difference because I was in different countries also. I was in Africa with Ghana national team, in Asia. Also, it was 3 months here, 3 months there, but it was in India and Thailand. And I was, of course, in England with Chelsea, Portsmouth, West Ham, which is a big difference between them. So 4 continents, or 3 continents, as you know. In Israel, there is a lot of passion to the football, like there is in other countries, but by the organization side, of course, the Premier League is the best in the world. The passion is the best in the world. Is the best players in the world, the best facilities, everything. And in Israel, if I may say, the level of the football is improving, but slowly, because we need to improve few things to make it better, to take the good things that there is in Europe by the organization side and put it in Israel, and then the football will be better, because the people in Israel are very, very passionate about football. There is a good players by the generation, but we need to change a lot to be better than we are now. If I can compare, if that's what you mean, Africa to Asia to England, it's a big difference. In Africa, for example, there is a big talents, big talents, but nothing is organized, you know, with the third world. So in every lecture that I speak about football, I'm starting with saying, nobody has enough talent to live on the talent alone. So there is a lot of talent there, but because of any money or other things, they don't pay attention so much for education of the youth team. In Asia, they are improving a lot by the organization, by the other sides. And of course, the best is in England. But even England, if you remember, a few years ago, until 10 or 15 years ago, the young national team didn't do so well. So even in England now, they're starting 10 or 15 years ago project to pay attention for the academies and young national team. And if you look now about the young national teams of England, you see that there will be no doubt that they will be the champions of the world, because there's a big talent. We need to do the same process in Israel, and then the result will come.
Thank you. I should just add, if you use the Q&A button, you can send some questions, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time at the end to pose them to Yossi and Avram. Yossi, you were very successful in Israel, but you were then had real longevity in the European game, which is unusual for Israelis. You're probably the most successful Israeli player of your generation, playing in the Premier League, playing in Spain. You can all look at his Wikipedia page for the whole list of teams. But did you have to adjust your game and your attitude towards football when you moved to Europe? And was it a bit of a culture shock almost for you?
First, thank you very much for the compliments. It wasn't a shock, but I understand very quickly that I need to work harder than I used to work in Israel. For my first days in Spain, it was really hard. Every day I had to, I don't know if you said to change the style of game, but in Israel I used to mainly play with the ball and not work hard enough. And quickly I understand that I need to run more. I need to adapt to what the coach, what the team are looking to find in me. And I think I adapt very well. I improve myself, from year to year, and I always build myself. I learn what I need to do to be better in the team and look on the next stage. And luckily, I moved to England, and it was one bigger step than Spain, because the tempo in England is the best in the world. So I had to get used to it also very quick. And I think my character helped me to do this. And even when I had to change a little bit the styles of game, I wanted to do it because I wanted to achieve the best that I can and to improve. And I'm happy with what I did during those years.
And you told us just before we went live that the adjustment was not always so easy, especially when you moved to Liverpool.
Well, it's never easy. I told you some little story before. When I moved to Liverpool, I played with Jamie Carragher, for me, one of the best defenders in the world at this time. And, he used to tell me on the start, look, I know the foreigners, they come only to England to take the money. They don't really care. And I don't like all the foreigners. I said, okay, it's your decision. And every day I used to, in the start, to be in the tackle with him, to fight with him. And after a few weeks, he came to me and he told me, look, now I see that you are a real man and you really want to succeed here. And since that day, we became very good friends till today.
Nice. Did you celebrate Liverpool's title win, or do you have conflicting loyalties for other clubs?
I don't have any conflicts, because my favorite club is Liverpool. I had my best 3 years of football in Liverpool, and I'm really happy for them, especially they didn't win the league since 89, 90. So with other Israelis, Ronnie Rosenthal. So of course I celebrate and I congratulate them, all my friends. I still have good friends in Liverpool that I'm in touch with them. And even I had an interview with Liverpool TV, so we're keeping in touch, and I really hope this club will continue to do what it's doing at the moment.
Yeah. Avram, how about you? Chelsea didn't win a trophy this year. They're still in the Champions League, but are you still in touch with people back there? Are you still speaking to Roman Abramovich or Marina Granovskaya, the owner and the chief executive there, regularly?
I know that not everybody is interesting about Chelsea, but I can tell you that the one thing that I'm very proud of, that all the owners, and a few of them are not so easy, that I was coaching under them. I stayed in contact with them. Just now I spoke with the owner in India. I spoke with Shachar, the owner of Maccabi Haifa, people from Portsmouth. So one of the things that I'm very proud of, that I stayed in contact with the team, with the owner, with the player that I was before. And of course, it's the same like in Chelsea. Chelsea is the most famous club. But there are also very interesting times in other clubs like Portsmouth and other clubs. In Chelsea, it was my first time as a coach, and so it was more emotional. When I started, I was in a question mark. Everybody said, who is this guy that came here? And then after we reach what we reach, everybody respected, and of course it was the same in Portsmouth. But I think football is more than anything is a game that united people. In a team you can see players from more than 10 countries, sometimes enemies countries, that coming to play together. And even in my teams, let's say it was in Portsmouth with some Arab players from Algeria and others that's supposed to be, no friendly, and we was the best friends. And the same in Chelsea and other clubs. So I'm in contact with maybe with all of the owners and the players that I was coaching before.
Mm-hmm. But of course, I'm sure we have lots of Chelsea fans watching today, and they will be interested in your opinion. Frank Lampard was your player. Now he's the coach there. Did you already see when you were there that he had the sort of the thinking and the personality that one day he might become a manager?
Yeah, that's for sure, because he's a great personality. You can see by his character and what he achieved. Frank is a great talent, but he's not Messi and he's not Ronaldo, but he became the best scorer of Chelsea in all times. And because he's a hard worker, and because his personality is a good personality and strong personality, so he achieved as a player more than any other players that, let's say, even in this, they are the same talent. So you could see that he is a leader. You could see that he can achieve. He always wants to achieve the best. He's a player that stayed after the training and wanted to do more. And even I remember before the semi-final, his mother died. His mother died, and he didn't train, even one training. And the 3 days before the final, we beat Man United 2-1 without him, and we played fantastic. We deserved 6-1, 7-1. In this game, we become the same points like United when we came behind. And many people thought, even my staff, that they don't need to play, not because they didn't like him, because they didn't train 1 week. And we won without him. And I remember that I needed to take very hard decision also for my career. And I remember even that my wife said to me, everybody in Israel know my wife, so that she asked me, what you were going to decide? I say, he will play. I say, why he will play? I say, because of 2 things. First, he's a great character. He's a strong man. Even he's very sad, and he was very, very sad. I spoke with him. He was very close to his mom. And I knew that when he will come, to the pitch, all the supporters will respect that he came and he played. And he played very, very well. We won 3-2. We came first time to history to the Champions League final. And he was maybe the best player on the pitch. I mean, we played fantastic, but he was very good, very, very good. And he could do it you can do it only when you are a strong character, despite what happened all of this week. And I trust his character, and I know that it will help him. He's an intelligent guy. He knows a lot about football. And you see this year, he did very well.
Yeah, well, I know that you have your ear very close to the ground, Avram. You were one of the first people who knew that Toni Kroos was moving to Real Madrid from Bayern a few years ago.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about who might move this year? Do you think Kai Havertz, for example, is going to be a Chelsea player? What are you hearing?
I don't know from inside any information I can tell you, but I think he's a good player. And I think they signed already 2 good players, Timo Werner and the guy from Ajax. So I think they want to improve the quality because they create a good base for the future this year. So, but I cannot tell you for sure who is coming here, who is coming there.
All right.
And even if I know, it's a secret. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yossi, before we go into slightly more important stuff and stuff that transcends football and talks a little bit about social challenges and the impact of COVID, I want to ask you, now that you're working as a sporting director at Beitar, how different is that to being a player, and what kind of different skill set do you need to develop for that?
Well, it's very different because I think as a player, the things depend on you. When I'm on the pitch, I know that I can change things. I can do, even if you have a difficult moment, just give me the ball. I will try to do something good. And I always believed in myself that I can change games. Here, you prepare, you help to build the squad. You are sitting every game, at the stand upstairs, and you cannot really affect the game. So this is the biggest difference, because sometimes I watch and I think, why the player don't do that? Why they don't do this? So it's very different. And of course, this work demands a lot of more time than you were a player. I give everything for Beitar 24 hours a day. I'm trying to improve things, to help the club, not only on the pitch, of course, out of the pitch, to build and to try to change, to build new facilities, to work with the players every day to change things. So I think it's much harder. This is the biggest difference.
All right. Avram, you spoke, or you touched upon it briefly, but...
By the way, we spoke about the semi-final. Did you know that also Yossi almost destroyed everything for me?
This now. Yes.
Because I didn't like that he gave the assist to Torres when we was winning 1-0, and then because of him, we needed to go to extra time. But I was very pleased that Benitez subbed him and put him on the bench, and then this is the reason that we won.
Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about stuff that goes beyond the pitch, even though this seminar is called, or webinar is called On the Pitch. Avram, you touched upon this earlier when you talked about your experience at Portsmouth and at Chelsea, but Chelsea in particular have been at the forefront of the fight against anti-Semitism in the Premier League. I want to ask you, were you exposed yourself to anti-Semitism, and how did you deal with it?
I can tell you that I spoke with Yossi before about this subject, and both of us didn't face, especially as a personally, something that connecting to anti-Semitic. I heard a lot about things. I heard also from people that was experienced about this, but I must tell you that the fans and everybody, even the fans away, never call me like, you know, any names. And even now, when I'm going, I don't know if you know, I'm visiting a lot in Arab countries. I was in the Gulf area, I was in Jordan, I was in Syrian refugee camp, Al-Zatari, on the border between Jordan and Syria. And everybody welcomed me very nice. You know, nobody spoke about this because, okay, I know that I came from the football, I'm not a politician. But even in the football, I heard a lot about the anti-Semitic, but I didn't face it myself. Yossi, I think, is the same. I spoke with him.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I was 12 years away from Israel, and I think I never met this, and I always had a good feeling at the club, you know, from the fans, from the people at the club. So luckily, we didn't met it, and we didn't have to deal with this. And I think this was a positive thing. We had to concentrate only in football.
That's good. I'm happy that you weren't personally exposed by yourself, but you think that sports, as you said, Avram, can play a role in fighting these prejudices and anti-Semitism in particular?
No, I'm sure about this because look at the people, like Sylvan said before, you know, when he bought Messi, 200 million are following him. People are following, especially the young generation, are following, and not just the young generation, following about this superstar or not such superstar. People like it. I think first, sports by nature united people. I remember that one time Shimon Peres, that he was in a good relationship, but he was not a big fan of football. I asked him, what do you think about football? He said to me, football is the only place that everybody have equal chance. It doesn't matter if he is Jewish or Christian or Muslim, or it doesn't matter if he's rich or poor or other things. In my teams was always Muslim players, Christian and Jewish people. Maybe I was the only Jewish sometimes, but it was, so sports, of course, it can be a big, big role. And I'm trying to divide it for two because I'm trying to convince other clubs to join Chelsea in the fight against anti-Semitic. Even we must know that anti-Semitic is a matter of education and culture, and we need to put a lot of efforts about education. Because I give you an example, because I knew they speak, you know what is it? This is the band that I put in my arm on the semi-final again when Chelsea played against Yossi Benayoun, yes. And it was the Holocaust Day. And for me, the Holocaust Day is very emotional because my father is a survivor of Holocaust. So I didn't know what to do because to play in the Holocaust Day. And I put the band, and when we won, you know, everybody was watching. And half of the press conference, the question was about the Holocaust. And many of them didn't know what is the Holocaust about. They didn't know what's happened. They didn't know what's happened many years ago because we are Jewish. We suffered a lot from this. Or let's say my family, you know, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle died in the Holocaust. Or other people was facing it. But you need to know that people around the world, not all of them know what's happened. So it's very easy to manipulate them, to take them to the other position, say, oh, the Jewish like this, the Jewish like this, the Holocaust was not like. So after this press conference, I understood first time in my life that many people don't know. So we need to teach them, we need to educate them, we need to show them what's happened when the evil are winning. Because the evil are winning only when 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 the weak people are suffering and the strong people don't react. This is what's all about, and that's what happened in the Holocaust. And many people was participating in this. So I think it's a matter of education, a matter of culture, and I think the sports can do a lot about this. I can tell you also that first we need to educate, and second we need sometimes to speak with the other side, because also the people that are, even some of them that are anti-Semitic, they don't know what they're doing. You know, I will tell you a secret. I'm participating in the March of the Living that go every Holocaust Day to Auschwitz and Birkenau. And I convinced few of the Palestinians, for our people, to come with delegation this year. Unfortunately, the Corona stopped it. Because when I spoke with them, when I told them the story of my father, when I told them, they say, "Oh, we didn't know, we didn't know." So the sport is the best platform to show the real story and the good education for these people.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive. Sport is also hugely affected, of course, like everything else in life, by COVID-19. Yossi, now that you sit on the other side and you look at the numbers and you look at the effect that this crisis can have on a team, what do you think football and sport will look like over the next few months? And will it change? Will it have to change because of what we're seeing now, or will it bounce back quickly? What do you think?
Yeah, change we will have for sure, I can say from my personal experience. I see all the numbers that had here in Beitar Jerusalem, for example, last season, what money I can offer to players and to bring them, and now it changed and it's going down and I need to work with a smaller budget. But I think, like you said, it's not only sport, like everyone are hurt from this virus. Hopefully, slowly, like everyone, I hope that the football will come back. I don't know if I can say to 100% like he was, but at least to something close like this. And this is what we want. We believe that it will happen, and I see slowly in England. You see some deals, because a few months ago people said that there will not be any more spending in Europe of money, but you can see also Chelsea, City teams are starting to buy players. So hopefully, slowly, the situation will be better and we'll come back to a normal football. So we can only hope, but we don't really know for 100% what will happen.
Yeah. Avram, what do you think? Is this just a temporary hit that football, like everyone else, has to take, or will it have a longer lasting negative effect?
It's what do you mean temporary? For how long? So it's temporary. The football is more strong than anything. That's what I think. Even I can tell you about myself that when people from around the world, people that are taking decision, ask me when the Corona started in February, I think, what do you think? Is it okay to start without supporters? I said to him, no, don't do it. It's not good to play without. But after 2 months, I changed my mind. And I think people are hungry to play, the players, the supporters. And you see now, even though there is no supporter in the stadium, look at the final last week, how many people was watching it. I don't know if you know, in the NBA, for example, they are watching, double figures than normal game by the television and everything. So I think football, sport, but football particularly is more strong than anything. It will come again, but it will take time. It will take time until someone will find the vaccine, and then it will be more safe for people, because their health is more important than anything. We don't want that people will come to the stadium and it will happen like happened with Atalanta against Valencia. But even now, without supporters, you see that there is a lot of passion from everybody to watch the games. I think we need to wait. I think at the end of the day, even I heard now that people say there will not be a vaccine. There will be a vaccine of something that will stop the virus. It will take it will take time, and then you will see after a while the football will come again to the same like it was before. No doubt about this. No doubt about this.
Fingers crossed. You talked about
it's a game of passion. Even when I speak about with players without passion cannot play. If you remember, if you speak about players, everybody wants to win. Yes, everybody wants to see his team winning. But there is a big difference between Drogba that is ready to kill, to score goals and to win title, and between Anelka that don't care what's happening in the game. So it's the same. I think about it's a passion. We are talking because we love football. It's a game of passion, and the passion will win everything. I think in any area in life, passion win everything.
Well, this leads me to my next question. I mean, we talked about the educational benefits from football. Is there something else to be learned from from sport? You know, can we learn lessons when it comes to resilience, when it comes to coping better, especially now that we are facing this health and economic crisis? Can there be sort of psychological tools from your own past as a player, as a coach in your case, that we can use as normal people, in inverted commas? Yossi, what do you think?
Well, I think, as I said, Avram, with his experience as a coach, I think he can give us better advice for this question. But no, I
think also Yossi can give you advice, because Yossi was my player for a long time, and he was very, very nice guy and a very good player. But more than this, he know how to be good in when the game was not so good. I think if you compare Corona, even what's happened now, to football, what do you have in football? You have in football love, passion. Yes, you love the game. You play the game, not just as professional. Yes. You're like, you know, I don't know if Yossi retired when he was 40, and if it depends on him, he continued playing until he was 60. But anyway, he played very good last year. I don't know why he wanted to be a director in this ungrateful job. But it's come for passion. People love football. I play football every Friday with my friends until now, because it's coming for love. And then, do you have a football to dealing with problem that you lose game, you win games, you play good, you don't play. There is a lot of things around. You need to deal with a lot of problems. So what happened in your Corona now? You have the same things. You know, in the one thing you have the love of the people, because when we was in isolation and quarantine, we was close to our family, which we love very much. Even we take care about our grandmother and grandfather, even we didn't see them. So the same love that we have football we had now with the Corona. Second, we needed to deal with problems, economic problem, health problem, and the most important, mental problem, which we have in football. In football, we have a lot of problems, but you need to deal with them. If you ask me, you know, I call my project mental program, Win Your Mind. You need to win your mind. And you need to be strong in life when things are not going so well. You know, everybody is strong when things are going very, very well. Now, when everything is not going well, by the economic, by this, don't lose your fight spirit and don't lose your way of thinking. This is the two things. You can be sad, but you need a fight spirit to fight with this problem, to try to find a solution, because the other thing is to feel sorry about yourself. It will not help.
Or to give up. Yeah, this is the most important, to be strong in the head, and I think it is the secret for everything, to be successful.
And strong you need to be when things are not going so well. Like now with the Corona, like in football, you can learn a lot from the football about leadership and how to deal with problems.
But I want to ask you both, as successful sports people, is that something that in your experience, the successful people in the sport are born with, or can you actually learn this, or can you be taught by someone else to have that inner drive, that inner motivation?
Good question. The answer is both.
Difficult to answer. Yes, good question.
Try, Yossi. Try.
I think it's a mix of both. I think it's a mix, because you have to born with something, you know, with some talent, and you build your character during the years. So you start to know yourself better and better during the years, and you know what you need to do if you really believe in it, and also connected with what Avram said, if you are strong enough to do this or not. And I think if you are strong enough and you have this character, you know what you need to do. You know what you need to give up about other things, you know, like when you are young, parties or celebrate or doing other things. You know what to do exactly, to work hard, what I need to do to improve, to achieve what I want. And I think, but you need to have this talent that you're born with, or this, and also, you know, it's all connected to the education that you get, you know, to put the right things in your head. So I think for me, it's a mix of everything together.
I totally agree with Yossi. I think there is 3 parameters that will make you a winner. First is talent, but nobody has enough talent to live on the talent alone. Second is passion. Not that you want to win, not that you want to succeed, that you have passion to succeed. As I gave you the example before, if we speak about Lampard, if we speak about Drogba, if we speak in other places, even in Portsmouth, that I was in a very, very difficult situation, the passion of the players lead them to win games that sometimes nobody expected it. And the third thing is mental strength. And mental strength, because everybody have good days and bad days. How you deal with the good days that don't think that you are a genius and you are God and you know everything, and how you deal with difficulties. I can give you a lot of examples from players that was considered like losers, and then they become winners. Even Michael Jordan, that we all see their last dance. I'm a very good friend of Phil Jackson. Until Phil Jackson came to Chicago, Michael Jordan didn't win anything. So what, Phil Jackson teach him to be a basketball player? No. He gave a few tools that he make them more winner than he is. So Raphael, can answer to your question. He was born as a winner, but he need also to learn two small things that will make him a great winner. To teach someone to be a winner, it's possible, but not with everybody. Not with everybody.
Yeah, and that is of course what good coaching is all about. But we have
absolutely. Our job as a coach is to take the best of the players, and part of it to take the best of them, to make them winners, and you know, when you see a winner you see after you lose a game, after a bad game, then you see a winner, not when everything is going well. When I see a player that is not good in one game and then the game after is very strong, comes strong, I know that he can be a winner.
All right. We have lots of questions. We'll see if we can rattle through all of them, or as many as we can. I'm going to read them out. Yossi, the first one is for you. It's from Daniel Nathan. He says, "You in my lifetime, the best Israeli player to have played in the Premier League. I'm from Manchester, so I hate Liverpool, but I will forgive you. In your opinion, who are the Israeli players who could have had a great career in the Premiership but didn't come to England?" He mentions Eran Sahavi, for example.
Well, it's very difficult. Eran Sahavi, for example, you know, I think it's amazing what he's doing in the last few years. Any league that he played is score more goals than everyone. It's just a great player. I would love to see him playing in England to see how he will adapt. But I think we had a lot of talented players during the years. If it was Chaim Revivo and Avi Nimni plus this type of kind of player, I would love to see them in the Premier League. And of course, we had few that played and that proved that we are the Israeli. We can play in this league, although this is the best league in the world. So I think more or less this is the players that I can think now in my head that can play in England.
Okay, now we have a question for both of you from anonymous attendee. With Tottenham being known as a Jewish club, did you ever have an urge to play for us or manage us? Avram.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Again, please.
Tottenham being known as the Jewish club, did you ever have an urge to play for us in case of Yossi, or to manage us in your case?
Yeah, I would love to coach Tottenham. Tottenham is a big club, but the owner, Joe, is a Jewish. The director is Jewish. And I remember
and you replaced Mourinho once, so you can replace him again.
I thought that Yossi is clever. And yes, it's a very good club. Also Ajax, they say that it's a Jewish club. But I think at the end of the day, football is football, and you want to win everywhere you go. And if you represent, if we are as Israeli can represent Israel in sports, especially in the Premier League, it's a privilege.
Yossi, did you ever get close to doing the Grand Slam of all the big clubs in London and go to Sweden?
No, actually, I was really close to move to Tottenham, but it was in the last day of the transfer when I went on loan from Chelsea, and at the end of the day, I decided to go to Arsenal. So I was really close to go to Tottenham, but I think I cannot complain. I was lucky enough to play for a few of the biggest clubs in England.
Absolutely. Another anonymous attendee wants to ask you, Yossi, who was the best player you played with and the best player you played against? And Avram, he wants to ask you, who was the best player you managed and the best player you managed against? I'll start with you, Yossi.
Well, I must say that I was privileged to play with a lot of big players. Of course, in the Premier League, I must say Gerrard was the best player because he is really a complete player. He gives you everything. So I must say that he is the player. Against him, I play with against few of the biggest: Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldinho. I think those are more or less the biggest player. You know, Zidane was at the top of the game, so it was amazing to play against him.
Yes, it's me now.
Yes, it's you.
Yes.
I think in the Premier League, you know, I played as a coach against the best players in the world, and it was very difficult to judge. But I think at the end of the day, Steve Gerrard, he was very difficult to play against him because he was dynamic, he could score, he could give assists. He was almost unstoppable. And when we need to play against him, it was very difficult to stop him. And even in the semi-final that we spoke a lot about this, and Makalele need to take care of him. And I think it was the best game of Makalele because we stopped Gerrard far from the goal. We forgot to stop Yossi, but then Gerrard is a very good player. It was also difficult to play against Wayne Rooney and others. And the Israeli national team, no doubt the best player that we played against was Zidane. And by the way, it was one of our best games. And at the end of the day, he scored against us. We lost 2-1. He was a fantastic player. He know what to do with the ball, of course, and he was very aggressive also. But we played against, you know, a lot of good players. But I think this is the more than others was very difficult to. I always look as a coach which player I need to stop and which is the most difficult to stop, except Yossi, yes. But I was lucky to.
Yeah, but you asked Avram also who is the best player he managed. So
Yossi Benayoun, no doubt. Yossi Benayoun, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Avram. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, that's cleared up now. There's a question from Alec Fishman who asks both of you. I guess, Avram, you've already done it, but maybe you want to do it a second time. As great patriots of Israel and huge contributors to the Israeli football progress, are you willing or do you see yourselves coaching the national team one day?
You know, I have great memories from the last time that I was coaching the national team, and our results gave me the chance to come to Europe because Portsmouth took me there only because of the results of Israel. So first, it's a message to everybody, don't be a loser, because when you come to Israel, always they say, oh, we don't have a chance, we don't have a chance, we don't have a chance, why we not qualify, and things like this. So I think we proved that we could do it. We missed the qualification only for two goals. We were the same points with Switzerland and 2 points from France. So it was a good memories. And I think now I'm with more knowledge. Of course, I want to help to the Israeli football. I came from Israel. I'm proud Israeli, if I may say, and I want to help to the Israeli football. I will do that. I don't know which position, but I will do that.
Yossi, can you see yourself managing Israel one day?
No, I leave it for Avram. You know, I will be, you know, I was 20 years almost international player. You know, it was a dream come true for me. And of course, as a sport director at the moment, you know, I have ambitions, and maybe one day I will be, of course, the national team. I think one of my main targets for the future.
Okay. I'll put two questions together in the interest of time. They're both for you, Yossi. One is about your time at Arsenal, and Sky and Space Global wants to know, what did you take from that period, even though it was short? And another question from an anonymous attendee who wants to know, having played next to Chaby, Alonso and Gerrard, how did those two great midfielders influence you?
Well, let's start with the second question. I think it was amazing to play. When you play and then you have around you this kind of players, I think this is what helped me to improve, to be a better player, to understand more football. And I think also this is why I said before, you know, I enjoyed more at my 3 years at Liverpool, because to be around those players in the dressing room, to learn the way they behave, and of course on the pitch, to have this quality that you know you will get the pass when you need, when you want, and the understanding between the players. So for me, I think this was the biggest, let's say, the things that I learned in football came from there, because it was amazing to be around these great players. And I was privileged to have this chance to play those. You said two names, but we had a great team and a good dressing room. So I must say this was amazing, just amazing for me. Yeah. And first question about Arsenal, you know, although it was only 1 year long, I think I enjoyed from the first moment. Everyone gave me a warm welcome, you know, from the fans, from the players. It was feeling that I'm already 3-4 years at the club. And we finished at the end, you know, we had a crucial game in the end that we had to win and to beat the Champions League, and we did it. So, of course, I finished my year long with a good feeling. I scored also a goal in this last game, important game. So it was an amazing experience, and I met also, you know, the manager, the coach, Arsene Wenger. So he gave me a lot of tips for the future. So I was lucky to have the chance to play for them.
Well, I think we can go on for hours, but the time is nearly up. Avram, I'll give you the last word with the last question. Another anonymous attendee wants to know about the pressure of managing such a great team as Chelsea. What were the highs and lows for you there?
Oh, this is I need to think about it. This is you know, football in the highest level is how to say, the biggest pressure environment in the world. Not because it's a different job. It's a different job for sure, because the team is not belong only to the owner, only to the coach, or only to the players. It belongs to the supporter. Supporter born with the team and died with the team. So there's a lot of pressure from the supporters, from the media, every step that you are doing. And we need to remember that these players are only in 20s or maybe 30 or something like this. And there is a lot of pressure for them to perform well, and when they are not performing, there is a lot of problems. So the same pressure there is about the coach. I personally like this pressure, because I think without pressure, I speak about this in every convention about mental and others, you know. I said, when you have a pressure, it pushes you, because if you go to the beach in Israel, which the beach is the most nice beach in the world, you don't have any pressure. You can look at the waves and everything. Here, they push you to achieve something. And when you achieve it, they push you to achieve more. And when you achieve, you push you to achieve more. You know, and when you lose, you need to recover so quickly. So, of course, the pressure in Chelsea is the biggest pressure, because the demands come from everywhere. For me, it was a good challenge. I enjoyed it very much. It pushed me also to achieve a lot of things. If you remember, we lost only one game in the league, and we almost won here and there. So I think this pressure is, at the end of the day, is good, and I prefer this pressure than no pressure.
Okay. Well, sometimes
maybe
when I
this
see
is a message to the other coaches, you know.
Yeah.
What?
Sometimes when I see the Matcoat games in the beach in Israel, it looks like there's also lots of pressure. But I understand what you're saying.
So it's a big pressure, and there is a lot of ups and downs, if you say. I think the ups and downs was in the same game for me, you know. If you're not speaking, it's the Champions League final, of course. We came to the final, first time in the history. We played fantastic. We hit the bar, we hit the post, and then we lost by penalty. So in the same place was the highest and the lowest.
Yeah, well, football, it can be extreme like that. Listen, this has flown by. I would have liked to sit for another hour and talk to you. Maybe we can repeat this another time. But thank you so much, Avram, Yossi, for being so generous with your time and for sharing your insight with us. Also, thank you to Sylvan Adams for his kind words at the start. I want to also thank you, TAU friends around the globe, for joining us today and for listening to TAU's webinars over the past 5 months. TAU globally will have a bit of a slowdown of broadcasting webinars during August, but they will return with an exciting lineup in September. So please check your emails in the coming weeks. Also, please continue to check each friend's website to connect with TAU anytime. They would love to hear from you. Finally, I would like to thank the TAU UK for helping to organize this webinar. I think you'll agree with me that it was a pleasure to be part of it. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.